All right, so we are back with part 3 of my series called My Spiritual Journey, sharing of my spiritual journey. And I hope you guys are loving it. Let me know in the comment section below if you've ever experienced any of these things, or can relate with what I'm talking about in the comments. And would love to hear from you. So, where should we continue? Let's get into my teenage years. Okay, so from 13 on, this is where things kind of shifted. Things started to really awaken. So um, there was a period of time where we moved a lot, and my mom will always find a church home, always. And I remember this period of connecting to this church. It had a really active youth group, and started to go or connect, and it making friends and stuff. And I started to learn a little. I started to learn a little bit more, and seeing how they lived their life. And I always saw like a different side of how these parents would talk to their kids, and their interaction, and how they utilize God and their religion, Christianity in their life. And it gave me perspective, because Caribbean households is totally different when it comes to the Christian religion and the interaction, versus when I saw in America of Christian households and their interaction. It's like night and day to me. And I saw this, the way they would talk to their kids, the way the kids would respond, how they would be. It was so different. Caribbean household, switch and lick. American Christian households, let's talk. Let's sit down and see where this is coming from. Caribbean households is the look, and if you don't get the look, it is something else coming after the look, right? And it'd be heavily Christian based, okay? And so this is me and my observation of growing and seeing this. And I think one of the biggest things I couldn't understand is, like, why were we suffering? I had a lot of inner questions with that, because I would see a lot of pale skins where their life would be so abundant, so heavily growing and flooding, and in their walk with Christianity. And I didn't see that in Caribbean households, from my household and Caribbean households. And I would question and have these questions in my mind: are we serving the same? Are we really serving the same God? Is it the same thing? Are they reading the same scriptures as we're reading the scriptures? And these questions started to intrigue me, and had me thinking on a deeper level of things. I didn't understand, well, why were we suffering and they're not suffering? Like, there's something happening that I am so not understanding and so not getting. And it would just propel. It would get worse and worse and worse. And as I really started to question, like, what is this really about? And because they talk about, if it doesn't reflect in your life, something is off, right? It has to reflect in your life, this abundance, right? The whatever that you're receiving from this particular God, it should reflect. And I wasn't seeing that. I was seeing the opposite. And I was seeing pain, suffering, things not ever working. The alignment was so off. Everything. constantly, and I won't go into the personal part of my life because it was just crazy. But from a religious aspect, I had questions, and as a young teen, I wasn't understanding any of this stuff. I would look through the Bible, read the Bible, try to figure out what this is about, and I wasn't getting real answers. Um, and and then I let it go. And then I went to another private school, and this private school I went to was Catholicism, a Catholic school, a Catholic private school, and you have boarding school with it. So my brother and I were a part of that, and going to mass, and we had a Catholic principal, the nuns, and this was different of me seeing like how religion was utilized in school, in middle school, high school, and I learned really great. Like, I had great teachers, great instructors. I learned really well, A's and B's student here, and even at the boarding school, the boarding house that we were at, they were Christian, but it was a particular sect of Christianity. I can't remember, because they were strict. Like, even though they were husband and wife, they would not sleep in the same room. Like, she had her own quarters, he had his own quarters. They wouldn't sleep in the same bed. I forgot what Christian group that is, but they were the host of the boarding school, the boarding house. And I think in those time I learned to be independent. I had to be the one to take care of my brother. I had to be the one to really rely on myself in a new way, and taking charge of things, thinking ahead in many ways. And I don't know, I would say God or whatever, but I do know that whenever I would enter the Catholic Church, it gave me a sense of peace. Like, I think even just the building itself, it gave me a sense of peace in the space of turmoil. And that I can say was something that I felt as a kid, as a young teenager, in trying to figure herself out, trying to be the right person, because I was very much a people pleaser, and wanting always to do good for my parents, and growing up in this space, and always be, I'm a representative of the last name, and it's a lot of pressure, and it's just a lot that I really realized in hindsight that I took on. But when I entered college now, this is around age 17, 16, 17, I started doing this walk out of the church. Like, I couldn't take it. Like, I started feeling these pulls. Whenever the preacher would speak on something, I would say, Mom, he's lying. Mom, he's not telling the truth. And I couldn't sit there. Like, something about it, I was like, nope, I don't like the energy. I'm picking up something, I gotta go. And I said, I'll wait outside. I will wait outside. And I started doing this for several years. I'll go with her, and then from that pulpit, I'm like, nope, I can't sit here. He's not telling the truth. He's adding stuff to this. It's not that. Oh my God. And I would be flipping inside. And I'm like, Mom, I'm going to go outside. I'll wait for you outside. And I would, because something in my spirit was so unsettled. I'll go into part 4.